So could this change anything legally? What is the impact here? Joining us, HLN legal analyst and criminal defense attorney Joey Jackson. Bottom line, does this change anything? Is there a legal impact?
So the simple answer, Erica, is no, all right? From a legal perspective, this is what happened. The grand jury was in panel. Do I suspect that the new governor will appoint a special prosecutor to take it to a new grand jury? I do not. Do I expect anything with the federal investigation, which concluded there was no civil rights violation, to change? I do not. It could come into play in the civil case, of course, that's slated in May. That's the case the family filed regarding wrongful death. That's the allegation that he should not have died and it was improper. But, you know, although none of that changes legally, it speaks to a much broader issue. And that issue is one that we talked a lot about, and that's the crisis of confidence between law enforcement and communities. At the outset of this whole case, Erica, the issue was whether the local prosecutor, that is Robert McCullough, should be presiding over the case. Should there be a special prosecutor for purposes of transparency, for purposes of objectivity to the investigation? And the community was very concerned about that. And his issue was, no, we'll show you everything, we'll do everything. And now this to come out. And it comes out by a filmmaker 2.5 years later. So the question becomes, if this was something that was hidden from public view to shape the narrative as to what occurred, what else might there be? So it goes to the issue of trust that the community has, that these investigations, when they're done, they show everything. Let the community make decisions on what happened. Is it relevant? Is it not relevant? But don't just not disclose it and conceal it and create another narrative that the public should buy into instead. And that's the bigger issue here.
So two questions on that point there. Number one, you know, playing devil advocate here for a minute, letting the community decide. Then how does that begin to infringe on the work of an investigator or a detective when they're trying to, I mean, should it be up to the community to decide whether or not something's relevant?
It shouldn't, but here's what happens. Erica, generally during investigations, the police release very little, okay? Right. That's one thing. And that's not what I'm suggesting. But if you're going to release information about the case, don't cherry pick what we should see in terms of the public and what we shouldn't see. And that's the shaping of the narrative that goes to the issue. Well, wait a minute. You said you were going to show us everything. It's your right if you're an investigator to say, you know what, we're investigating. We're not going to show you anything. But if you start to show us things, don't say he's aggressive. You see him in the store, he robbed the store. He had marijuana in his system. He engaged in this dispute. And then hide this earlier video, which may be suggestive of something. And that's the critical issue here.
And what's interesting, too, so we do have the St. Louis County Police telling CNN in reaction here that, number one, they cannot confirm its authenticity at this time in terms of the video. But, and I'm quoting here, if it did occur, the incident is still irrelevant to our investigation because our department investigated the encounter between Michael Brown and Darren Wilson. With your attorney hat on for a minute, if you are the attorney here and they're saying this is irrelevant because it happened 11 hours before and Officer Wilson was nowhere present at that time.
Okay.
Is that true?
Well, yes and no, okay? This event was measured by the interaction on the street. That's clear. And what happened on that street, we saw the officer, Darren Wilson, respond to that. Michael Brown's dead. A grand jury cleared him. No criminality. No civil rights violations. I get that. But I don't think that a department or investigators or police should be unilaterally determining what's relevant and what's not, particularly when you're shaping the public narrative and suggesting he was in the store, he engaged in this dispute in the store. Why tell the public that, but not tell the public what happened earlier where there may or may not have been a bartering for marijuana, for cigarillos? Was he coming to collect his own cigarillos? That's the issue that I have. You want transparency, you want fairness, you want police to buy into communities and vice versa. Just let the public know. And that's where the wounds are right here, right now.
They are, and they are clearly still very raw for a lot of people. People have different reasons for it, but they are there without question. Joey Jackson, really appreciate it, as always. Thank you.